Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him.
As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Now thou, son of man, wilt thou judge? Wilt thou judge the bloody city? Yea, thou shalt shew her all her abominations. Then say thou, Thus saith Yahweh, The city sheddeth blood in the midst of it, that her time may come, and maketh idols against herself to defile herself. Thou art become guilty in thy blood that thou hast shed, and hast defiled thyself in thine idols, which thou hast made. And thou hast caused thy days to draw near, and art come even unto thy years. Therefore have I made thee a reproach unto the heathen, and a mocking to all countries. Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Yahweh. I want to give all glory and praises to our Heavenly Father Yahweh, and we do so in the name of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai. Grace and mercy be abound to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth that are waiting on the second coming of our Lord and Savior Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Tonight we're going into a brief lesson just concerning a video that I seen on Instagram. And basically it's a video that's actually here in Houston. When I was listening to it, I noticed that, initially one of the places that he named, and it began to dawn upon me that he was talking about Houston. And it's actually from a church, or I guess a reverend or a pastor at a church here in Houston. And I've read Ezekiel chapter 22. As you see here at the top, it says the sins of Israel. And you see that Ezekiel's told by the Most High to go and show the people their abominations and their sins and their transgressions. And he calls them a bloody city. Okay. Now remember that a city is not necessarily just a designated place on the map. It is an inhabitant of the people. Okay, so the Most High looks at the children of Israel collectively. He doesn't necessarily need to look at you from a geographical location. This is one of the reasons why one of the biggest deceptions is going on in the Holy Land is those people that have put themselves and stepped foot on there and claimed our identity as a people. The Most High doesn't view that as because you're on the land and you call yourself that name, that you're the people. He understands his people. He understands who his people are, regardless of what other people think. And on top of that, we've been scattered across the four corners of the earth. Now, in our scattering, because of the breaking of the covenant that our forefathers had, we have now fallen into greater levels of, moral degradation. And we're really at a point now, as we're approaching, the only about a month into Trump's presidency, where it's going to get really ugly and get very bad. It's already bad enough as it is. Now, when you look at what's going on around our people, one of the things that we do talk about as a people is the high murder rate among our people. We talk about basically a lot of the dysfunction among our people, which we have to admit, and we do know, has been caused in part by our enemy Esau, okay, who's created a lot of different things written, by law, created mischief among our people. And that has basically gone multiple generations. We're really going into like the fourth generation of the welfare state, into, single motherhood, which has created the issues that this man is going to talk about, which he doesn't want to openly talk about among his congregation, because most of those women in the congregation that he's talking to, and you see the video here, most of them are going to be single mothers because they're in Third Ward. They're over there in Third Ward, right near like the epicenter. They're off of Yellowstone. They're right there in the heart of Third Ward. And the fact is that this church has been open since 1960, and this old man does not have the answers. Okay? He does not have the answers to the problem because the book has not been opened up to him. And a lot of these men, these guys, they're 501c3, and their 501c3 is ruled based off of the fact that they got to keep the confusion going, because with the confusion going comes the money. See, when you speak the actual truth and you show our people what they're doing wrong, they're not going to donate to that cause. Okay? You can't get rich off of preaching the unadulterated truth. I'm going to say that again. You can't get rich off of preaching the unadulterated truth. You got to be a pander out here. And that's why even a lot of these guys in these Israelite communities, they have to pander their message too. They cut certain areas out. Like, for example, you might have a group that might not want to say the name Yahawashi. They want to keep it as Jesus because it makes the people feel comfortable. You have another group that's going to tell everybody that because you're an Israelite, you're going into the kingdom and it don't matter what you do. But we know that's a lie. We're going to definitely get into that. So we're going to go ahead and play some of this video so that we can kind of get an idea of what he's talking about. And we're going to kind of do a commentary on what he's speaking on.
If we're going to argue logically,
Okay, let me refresh it.
the argument problem of death.
So he says he's going to talk about the problem of death. Okay, now remember, it says here a pastor tells the truth of the black community. Now, let me tell you something that's going on before we get into this. This is off of the Instagram conservative. Now, one of the problems that we're having right now is a denial of the things that Esau has caused. What people call white supremacy. Those that don't understand that they're an Israelite, they call it white supremacy. We call it Esau being Esau. We call it, we try and refer to it as Edomite supremacy. Okay, because there's levels even to the Edomite identity. Okay, it's deeper than just skin. It's more than skin deep, if you get what I'm saying. Some of you can get what I'm saying. It's more than skin deep. Okay, so you got people out here that just think that this stuff happened in a vacuum. Like the way our people are today has nothing to do. There was no influence outside by the government and by your everyday Edomite who works in various fields, okay, that kept this thing going, because it's so many layers deep of how this condition has gotten to our people. And that's why the confusion is so high, because you got people now in the so-called year of 2025 who don't know this history or choose to ignore it. And they just look at what's been going on and they say, oh, we're just killing each other. Oh, I mean, man, what are we doing, man? We're doing it to ourselves, man. We're our own biggest enemy. And you could say that, but you cannot overlook the facts on the ground and in history. Because what is happening with our people here in Babylon is a unique set of circumstances unlike any other on the planet. Unlike any other on the planet. You cannot even imagine. I'm going to go into another video as well. I'm not going to add it to this. I'm going to probably separate it to show you how unique the situation is among our people, especially among the tribe of Judah here in America, here in Babylon. Okay? So it's very, very deep. But this man does not have the answers. You're going to hear him talking about it, but he's not going to have no solutions to what he talks about. Okay?
If we're going to argue logically, the argument got to hold up on both sides. All the killing in our community ain't coming from white people. Come on, say amen if you can. We are killing one another. Our old people are scared to get out at night in their own community. They're not scared of white people. They're scared of young black boys on the street.
And you know what? Ask some of these old people, when was the last time that they were in the community and they were not scared of their own people? And there's an actual timeline to that, because there was a time that it wasn't happening like that. There was a time when it was safe to be in that neighborhood, which is a historically black neighborhood that's currently being gentrified. There was a time when it was peaceful. The problem that they had was with them people on the other side. Okay? Like they would say back then, them white folk, them crackers. I'm just using the term that they would have said back then. Okay? That was the problem that they were having. So how did it get to this point? Because, see, you got people out here, listen, we're at a point now, you got young folk that are on Instagram, they're on these social media sites. These people was born in the 21st century. These people was born after Tupac died. They are confused. They don't even know. They have no clue and idea. They think that it's just happened in a vacuum, that black people just woke up and just started killing each other, not understanding that there was a process that got to the point where these neighborhoods, because this is not all so-called black people that are like this, okay, but it got to the point that these neighborhoods fell under a lot of great violence, okay, and became the bloody city, which, again, this type of stuff was happening even in the land of Israel. Because as we started following the ways of the heathen and they began to infiltrate some of their ways, and then our spiritual fall off from disconnecting from our maker happened, this stuff was happening too. This is the reason why in Ezekiel, they referred to the people as the bloody city. See, a lot of things that are in the Bible, when you read in the Old Testament, you don't get every single action that was occurring. That's why a lot of stuff was spoken in generalities. But why was it a bloody city? There was a lot of killing going on. There was a lot of deletion going on. Okay? There was a lot of death going on. And there was a reason why that death was coming in at such an alarming rate. Okay? So let's go ahead and keep going.
Amen. No. All the killing that's going on ain't going on in River Oaks. It's going on in South Union, in Third Ward, on Cullen and Martin Luther King. Every street that's named after Martin Luther King across America is riddled with crime and death in the name of a man who stood for nonviolence. The church has got to accept some responsibility.
The black church has had a very big problem that they can't solve, which is the message of salvation to the people. He brought up Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was a pastor, but he was also in other things. He was also part of the Boule. Okay? He was also he was an Alpha Phi Alpha, which is actually an extension or basically one of the organizations underneath the Boule, because everybody in the Boule, I believe, was associated with a so-called black fraternity, but the Boule predated all black fraternities. Okay? He came with solutions that were not going to be good for our people, because one of those solutions was integration, which was basically us trying to be more and more like the oppressor. Put us in a position where we'll be around the oppressor more so we can be more like them. And that's what's basically has happened, because we're just basically melanated Romans at this point. Melanated Greco-Romans living like Greco-Romans fully. Okay? Into all the abominations of the Edomites. Okay? And embracing it fully. To the point that our people are the most liberal people, pretty much in America. And I'm talking about the tribe of Judah. The most liberal people probably on the planet. And how do we know this? Just look at the fact that we have an identity of a family as predominantly just being a mother and their children. And it's acceptable. This wasn't always like this. Okay? And Esau has a large part to do with it. He brought that in there, and he understood that when we turn away from certain structures that are supposed to be natural among all mankind, such as a man heading a house, and that you bring that away, and then you bring in economic deprivation, okay? And then you bring in different things such as drugs, guns, which they started doing after the Civil Rights Act was signed. They brought in so many different tools, wicked devices, and it's now become multi-generational to where this is normalized. And a lot of people don't even see anything wrong with it. A lot of people grew up in these type of environments, and this is actually natural to them to be growing up in a place with, violence and crime. It's normalized. They embrace it. Now it's become a culture. Now, when we read in Ezekiel 22 talking about the idols talking about, even people like the rappers, the gangbangers, the dope boys, your Big Meats, your Larry Hoovers, your Freeway Rick Rosses, all these are idols. And when you embrace these things, you defile yourselves with them, and then you become like unto them, and you become even worse because you want to top them. This is what's going on. And that has become socially engineered among our people. This is a very fascinating thing that's looked at by people around the world. That's why I said, going back, okay? Look, he says, therefore I have made thee a reproach unto the heathen and a mocking to all countries. So the heathen, the other nations, our people have become a reproach. He's made a reproach unto the heathen and a mocking unto all countries mock. You see, you got these guys, you got some of these guys that brag about being emulated. Oh man, other cultures. You got leaders. You got the leaders of the people causing the earth. You got so-called black leaders in America, okay, that are bragging about other countries emulating so-called black America. They're mocking you. They go back to their culture and they emulate. They do Halloween and act and say they're Tupac. Say they're Michael Jordan or whatever. That's more childish emulation. They promoting other things like family structure, progress, generational wealth. They're not promoting a death style, because you talk about death, that's called a death style. Behavior that leads to death is what our people are promoting, which is completely satanic. And the Most High is exposing our people in front of the world. And this guy he don't got no message. The message is the gospel. Should be able to go into that book and break it down. He has not gone into the law to his people and said, this is why we're in the condition. He does not want to tell them that them people is the enemy. You cannot see, you are not telling them that who the Most High is and his son, it really is. Who you are and who the people in your congregation are. You're telling them that they're Gentiles. You're telling them that the people over there in the land, them small hats, is the people of God. That's what you're telling them. Church been open up since 1960, but ain't no truth came up out of it. And it's a very unfortunate.
Because we in here singing and shouting on Sunday morning. Let's get out here and go tell that young black boy and that young black girl, we gonna teach you how to love yourself more than somebody taught you how to hate yourself.
And how are they gonna do that, sir? When in your congregation, you do not want to get on the woman who ran off their fathers, who would have basically been a symbol of love in that house. Because a man is the one that's going to have to sacrifice. Love is an action word. It's not just saying I love you. Where is the identity? You're showing them Cesare Borgia as their savior, and they internalize that and hate themselves. That's why in the beginning of that clip, you saw those women with a wig or another woman's type of hair on their head. That wasn't their own. The mothers is in there teaching self-hate to the children. So when they go outside, of course they're going to hate each other because their mamas don't like themselves. So how are you going to have that happen? You're not going to be able to fix that issue. See, when these messages come, they're hard to be heard. It is the ugly truth. It is the bitter truth. It is what it is. We are at a point now where the curses are speaking so plainly in our face. It's getting very bad out here. And I got a few videos. Really dealing with this thing. When people want to understand what's really going on, when you see how bad it really is, it's bad. Okay?
Pull your pants up. Take your nasty pajamas off when you get up in the morning to go outside. Wish I had somebody to help me.
And you notice there's a lot of older men in there from that older generation. Okay? They're from that older generation, and they're the ones that actually survived from the madness that occurred over the last, 60 years. You know what I'm saying? Where are the young men at? Do you know in a lot of these black churches, everybody talks about it. A lot of the young men in the black churches, they sweet. The girls that are in these churches, they do other things. Saturday night, they at the club, they hooking up with different men and women. Don't forget about that. And then they come to church the next morning and they sing in the choir. Who are they fooling? They fooling themselves. This is what's going on in the so-called black church, because the black church is a church of doom. Where's the Israelite church? That's what we should be talking about. It's very interesting when you look at it that Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt and the church was in the wilderness. Okay? The church was in the wilderness. We are currently in the wilderness. We are setting up church, trying to get things right. But you got people out here that are not speaking the truth. Even in the Israelite community, you got guys that don't want to touch on that subject of what the women are doing. Then you got clowns out there. You got Ahabians who will say that me speaking against wicked women, that I'm bitter against women. I love women more than you do, because if you love women, you would correct them. You would tell them their sins. It tells you in the scriptures that you shall not hate thy brother in thy heart, but you shall love thy brother. You shall rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him or her. You should tell your wife to sit down and shut her mouth and let the man speak. Because if we let women run this, you gonna go right into Gehenna, burning forever. A lot of you wicked women, a lot of you women that got children, you need to get back in that children with the father. That's what we're at right now. That's where we're at. Let's stop the bull crap. Let's call a spade as to why this violence is going on. Because you got all these wicked women, these Pharaoh women that are out here raising these sons, and they don't know how to raise a man. And then when them kids get their testosterone in them and they are self-willed because they had no man over them breaking them down and disciplining them, now you got a loose cannon out there and he's committing all these acts. And then you wondering why he's going to jail for life, why he's in the grave. And you think you crying out to God. God, Most High ain't listening to you. He ain't listening to you because you're a wicked woman. That's why he ain't going to listen to you. We got to tell our people the truth. He ain't hearing you. He done hid his face from our people. And if you can't tell, go outside. Look at the news. Catch a Blues Clue. Like I said before, this man has no answers. He has no answers. And let's look at some of this. So I'm gonna play the rest of it. Then we're gonna look at some of the comments of these people.
Act like you got good sense. Talk like somebody's raising you.
Who's raising them? Who's raising these kids? You know you know what's going on, but you don't want to speak on it. You don't want to speak on it. Because some of these same pastors, they're part of the problem. They done created some of these homes themselves. Okay?
A whole lot of our problems are self-inflicted.
There's a lot of truth to that, and single motherhood is self-inflicted, but it's upheld by Esau's power structure. This guy, Esau's so petty, he created a system that was really meant to basically bring our people down. And by extension, there's collateral damage in his community. That's how freaking petty and hateful he is, that he's willing to promote certain things such as single motherhood, creating the media that told women that they can do it without a man, and then creating a music industry, an entertainment industry that feeds the brain, the minds of these young children to emulate bad behavior, to basically take on a hold of a death style. That's the crazy thing about it. So there is some issues on that side. That's why we have to get out of the captivity. That's why we have to get out of Babylon lest we be destroyed with a sword destruction. Because the longer we're here, the more we're going to be utterly destroyed as a people. And the thing about it is we're on the earth. Esau controls everything. He gonna mess up everywhere we are. He gonna make it dysfunctional. He just got to find a different way of doing it. It's just that here he has so much control that he could do it on a mad scientist level. He can Frankenstein you. Straight up, Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, and create monsters, which is what he's doing here with our people. I seen a guy, or a YouTuber named Sergeant Willie Pete, and he has a video. He says, white people got the black people that they deserve, meaning that they created the monster that has become the so-called black community. But the crazy thing about it is that we know how they're doing it, yet we are not stopping it as a people. We know that they removed the man out of the home so they can create the dysfunction with the young children, so that when they become adults, they're dysfunctional too. And then they go into these different alternative, death forms, such as, drug dealing, gang banging, robbing, which is going to feed into the prison industrial complex. We done talked about that for decades. But when we bring the word of the Lord as a solution, really the gospel, this is the reason why the more and more I think about it, this is the reason why the gospel is the only solution, because the gospel is only for a subset is really for an elect. It's not for the whole nation. And I understand it now, because the more and more we preach the message of the gospel, the more and more we show our people what they're doing wrong, the more and more they rebel. Like the Most High says, he says, the more and more he punished the people, the more and more they rebelled. They rebelled even more. So this is how you know that the gospel of Yahawashi has to be the true ultimate message in the end. Because if you assume that we can fix our people in mass, you are fooling yourself. Therefore, you have to go to the gospel message. And it has to only be for a remnant to understand and believe in. Because you can't talk to all the people and they're going to change. You start bringing out line by line the self-infliction that this man is talking about, that's being the problem, and you're going to see men and women alike in that congregation angry at you. Just like Ezekiel was told to get on the people, they got at him. They were mad at him. But that's why the Most High told him, I will make thine head as an adamant stone, and thy forehead should be hard against their forehead. Because you're talking to a stiff-necked and rebellious people. And the Most High is literally opening up the bolt of sin, of the punishment of sin. He's opening it up, the punishment of the sins, the curses. He done allowed us to be defiled among the heathen, which the main heathen is Esau. This is the bad thing about it, is that the blindness, the gross darkness has come upon the people to a high level, very high level, to where you can't even, you say this, you tell them this is right, they say it's left. I mean, it's getting that bad.
White people ain't breaking in my house. I wish I had a witness here.
Oh, they breaking into your house. It's called CPS. Okay? It's called them courts. It's called the law enforcement who's enforcing the law that you are separated from your children in their most important stages of development, so they can be misled. Oh, they breaking in. See, this is the thing. When people don't understand the hidden hand of Esau, the hidden hand of Esau is not him showing up and saying, hey, I'm Ku Klux Klan with a Klan hat on, and then saying, I'm doing this. No, he does it through a hidden hand. And then you look at your people and you say, no, you're doing it to me only. No, he actually is puppeteering these gangsters. These people that are out here are nothing more than automatons of Esau. Okay? They're Edomite supremacists because they're going around destroying their own people. But they've been deceived. They've been deceived to doing these things. The woman has been deceived to believing she can do it on her own. Oh, I just get a little bit of this, a little bit of help from the government, and I'm going to raise the kid myself. The kid you then raise become those same people, those same young men that this man is complaining about in the community. We all know the stats. That if a kid grows up in a single parent home, they're more likely to suffer from all these ills of society. But they'll come through with the one LeBron James that made it out with a mother who wasn't really actively involved in him with his development as a young man. And they'll tell you that it still can be done because they bring out, you're talking about 1 out of 100, 1 out of 75. And then there's detrimental effects that occur even when success happens, because there's other things that the child is missing out. That's why we had certain things about the law about helping a widow who's a widow indeed. Okay? That's why they had the different orders of the Levites. One of those being was the ones that helped the fatherless children, okay, and the widows. These women out here, they're not widows. They're out here just having babies with different men and then expecting either the government or other men to help them without having authority. You don't have no authority over those kids in those situations. The government is not even enforcing anything, because the government is like, hey, look, we're going to give you what you need to clothe, feed the kid, house the kid. We'll even throw in some Medicaid for your kids. But we're not going to do no discipline. You figure that out. And then when your kid gets of age and they start messing up out there, they got juvenile court for them. They got them youth jails for them. They got them, and then they got them prisons for them too. And they project that based off of your child's greeting level. By the time your child's in third grade and they see, 75% of the kids in this neighborhood can't even read at the required level, they know that leads to them being dysfunctional as adults. And they say, you know what? We're going to build up more prisons for them kids to go into, because we can predict that by the time this kid graduates, get to the age of being a high schooler, he's going to be, running through this court system. We'll have a paper trail on him. He'll get acquainted with the judges. So that's what's going on now. And Esau created that system, but we do self-inflict because we see the traps and we run right into them as a people. We are not figuring out that there's a trap on the other side of the door. All because on the other side of the door, it's some cheese on that other side that we want to get to, only for that trap to clamp down and bite our people. And we're just like in the wilderness, we're going around in circles. We're having these circular discussions about what to do and how to fix things. And we know what the problem is. It's just that the people don't want to fix it. So the Most High's like, I'm going to pour more curses upon you. I'm going to make it look even worse than it is now. Okay? And I'm going to go into other videos to show you how bad it's getting. And people still going to come with the same circular deflection tactics of what's going on and what's to blame. Now, this guy, 773, I believe that's a Chicago area code, J Money. He says, I literally say the same thing all the time. I don't understand why we're always quick to blame white people for the problem in our communities. It's very simple. They're part of the reason why we have this dysfunction that's going on as a people, because you cannot have this level of dysfunction at this level, unless somebody is overseeing the dysfunction, because this is another level of dysfunction. Says Lee Hawkins World said he is one of the few remaining black leaders who still has the courage and character to concede that black on black does exist and that we need to declare spiritual warfare against it. Too many leaders say all crime is interracial without acknowledging that it is the highest per capita in our community. Children are dying, families are dying inside because of it, but our leadership would rather act like it's not happening. They've been talking about it. Listen, these same pastors and so-called reverends, they got to bury these kids, man. When an innocent person gets killed, when one of them elderly get robbed and killed, or a young woman dies on the street, okay, where do you think that they hold the church services? It's in this man's church. They bring out the casket, they do the eulogy, they talk about the issues and what we need to do as people. You can go back in the 80s, in the 70s, funerals of victims of so-called black on black crime. They've been saying the same thing. So it's not that the pastors aren't scared to talk about that issue. They just don't have the solution, because the leaders of these people cause them to err. They don't want to say what kind of home these kids is coming out of. That's causing these problems. That's the problem. What he's saying ain't nothing different than what a lot of these other men are saying in them black, so-called black churches, not an Israelite church, by the way, in them black churches. And some of these Israelites, they don't want to talk about these issues with these women out here creating these monsters. Like it says, okay, in the Apocrypha, menstruous woman creating monsters. They don't want to talk about that, because now you the enemy. Them women right there in them pews and in them choir, they're going to leave. They're going to leave if he start going into that. He can't talk about that, because he ain't built like that. He ain't built properly. He ain't built to speak the truth. Now, look what this guy says. Get fathers back in the home. Prioritize school choice and stop voting Democrats. So, see, he thinks it's voting. Get that out the way. Okay, get the voting out the way. You think voting Republican going to do you in any better? You guys is dullards. The only thing you got right is get the fathers back in the home. The woman don't want the men back in the home. They want Uncle Sam That's what they want. They want Uncle Sam. And they gaslight you saying that you're the one that don't want to be in the home. Doing parental alienation, lying. Some of these women lying about who the father is. Some of these women out here pinning the baby on other men that they know ain't the father because they be knowing their own menstrual cycles. You letting these women gaslight you like they don't know their own menstrual cycles after a while. Like they don't know the window in which they will be able to get pregnant. He says, I guarantee those 3 things will quickly improve the black communities throughout America. Well, guess what? I'm going to tell you this. We're not about improving the community. We're about getting the elect sealed. It's over. Kevin Samuels tried to warn him. They didn't listen. They celebrated on his death, and he wasn't even coming out the book. He wasn't even in the gospel. Okay? So what are we talking about right now? There is no fix to this. This is called the snowball effect. Every generation, it gets worse. Now look at this. And we're going to get into a precept concerning this type of behavior as well. It says 20 million black babies have been, and you can't say them words too much nowadays, but deleted since 1970 and counting. We're responsible for our own Holocaust, yet no one wants to address that. Do you know the reason why they don't want to address that? Because if you talk about these women going into these clinics and deleting 20 million babies for the last 50 years, if you talk about that, they're going to just blame the men. But we know they're not deleting the babies of athletes and entertainers when they get pregnant, though. We do know that. Oh, they keeping that. Oh, how do we know that? NBA star Anthony Edwards, who himself is a serial baby maker at a young age, 23 years old, already got like 4 or 5 baby mamas and 4 or 5 different babies. The last one, more recent one, he told the woman to delete the baby. Okay. And she didn't, because she wants that moolah, that Magnon, that De Niro, them greenbacks, them dead presidents. You dig? She got that child support. She's supposed to spend it on the baby, but you see, she don't. So that's what's going on. Yeah, we're gonna get our Moses on. You're gonna hate. Oh man, who he be? Where he from? Yeah. From whence cometh he? Aren't you that Egyptian? You hate. They hate the messenger, and they hate the message too. They hateth him that rebuketh at the gate. This guy ain't rebuketh at the gate. He's not telling the people why it's going on. If he really want to come through and really cause a ruckus, man, tell these people exactly what they're doing wrong. Until then, you're going to be in fear because this ain't changing. This is an unfixable thing. Dr. Umar ain't fixing it. Tariq Nasheed ain't fixing it. Dr. Neely Fuller, who just passed away, who actually broke down a code on white supremacy, going into the 9 areas of activity that the Edomite dominates on the earth. He passed away. He couldn't fix it. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing couldn't fix it. Okay. Boyce Watkins. Boyce Watkins, one of the main people that doesn't want to get on the woman in their part in this madness, including the 20 million deletions of infant babies in the womb. They voting for the Democratic Party with women twerking on stage at Democratic conventions, and you're voting for them at a clip of damn near 90%, at a 90% clip. We went over the results that week a couple of days or a day after the election. We see what you're voting for. You're voting for freaking Satanism, outright Satanism, everything opposite of what's righteous in the Bible. This guy said Lyndon Johnson, a Democrat, started welfare to get these very results. Yeah, he called it a war on poverty, which was a war on you, war on the people. And they ingeniously did that. Esau's so crafty. He's like, oh, here's a civil rights bill. You can vote. We're going to protect your freedom to vote. We're going to allow you to come to go to stores and travel where you want to go. We're going to protect you under that law. And then said at the same time, you know what? Hey, y'all woman, sent them Gloria Steinem, small hat Edomite, come through, talk to the B-dubs. Hey, get away from the men. The men, they're your problem. Them women took off they froze and put on Gloria Steinem's head on their head. And ain't been the same since. Ridiculous. And see, when you go into these type of places, you got these dummies. Let me tell you some of these pull yourselves up by your bootstrap type people that want to deny racism and deny the effects of oppression. These people are so silly, they're going to walk right into the mark of the beast. They're just that dumb. You see? Now you got Mrs. Ann right here talking about, yeah, because your people wouldn't drove near it, but I guarantee your brother, your uncle, and your cousins did as police officers after they then brought dope to Bridgeport, Connecticut off of MLK and brought in drugs too. As if we didn't see about what Reagan was doing. You had Gary Webb, look him up. Gary Webb exposed how the government brought drugs and guns into the so-called black community back in the 80s. And they killed them. Okay? So it's not like we don't know what's going on. We know that your people are freaking treacherous. Okay? That's why they're going to go into captivity and be destroyed utterly forever. Thus saith the Lord. Okay? How you love that. Yeah, this is commentary. Okay? This is commentary. We're going to have some precepts coming up too. But we got to speak the real. Okay? Tell the truth and shame the devil. These people trying to make it Democratic run cities. Houston, by the way, that this man is in, back in the early 80s, by the way, Houston was a murder capital of the world in 1981, and it had a Republican mayor. So this guy talking about a Democratic run city. You deflectors with this dang party stuff, man. You people are done. You people are finished. Anybody out there that still believes in parties, Republican, Democrat, them people is done. You are a sheep. You are who the people that sit up in them secret councils, they laugh at you people. Trump laughing at you guys that on the Republican kick, not understanding that what he's formulating during his current presidency. The promises some of the promises he made in his last term, he didn't even fulfill. He was supposed to build the wall. The wall wasn't built. And then y'all complain about so-called illegals coming in by the millions. But he was supposed to build the wall, right? Oh, my goodness. Look at this guy. Now, this would make no sense. Look at this. Sad but true. I met a black man in his lower 60s who told me flat out he has guns ready in his house for black people. He is not worried about other people trying to break into his house, only our own black people. He's stupid, for one. I don't believe what this guy's saying because you actually do have break-ins by other races. Okay? It's not like, why would you only buy a gun just to only shoot your own people? That means if somebody else of another race threatens your life, you're not gonna use it because they not black. That sounds stupid. Dudes just be, and he probably capping on him talking to a man in his 60s who says he's only using it to protect himself from black people. Get out of here. You don't see these Edomites out here open carrying. You don't see these Edomites out here ready to stand your ground like they did on Trayvon Martin and them. Heck out of here. Like he gonna see that and be like, man, I'm only gonna use it on them. Man, I get rid of a Zimmerman quick. I'm gonna sit here and use my Glock only on my people when my life is threatened. Heck out of here. See, now here's somebody talking something. Okay. Music industry has been using psychological warfare to influence the minds of the youth. Remember I talked about them idols. Them idols that's also in Ezekiel 22, because it's deeper than just the idols that a man draws. It's the idols that's in the man's heart. Okay? Like the Most High talks about, the idols in their heart. It says, has been using psychological warfare to influence the minds of youth to become the lyrics that they listen to. Exactly. These kids is out here bobbing their head to NBA Youngboy. Okay? Lil Durk, King Von, Reese and them. Rappers are largely responsible for the Pied Piper message that are soaked up in black society. I agree. That's why you got them female rappers out here doing the most. Freaking Glorilla, Megan Thee Stallion. Okay? They talking that same madness too. It's basically like the counterparts of the male rappers. Satan has romance youth with lyrics in rock, country, and rap to form ideas in the minds and hearts of all corners of society to poison us and turn us against each other. He's correct. I'm going to go ahead and hit the hard eyes, the like on this one. Okay? Yeah, because that's part of, and hold on, let's go back up. Who controls that? Okay? It's some Edomites, man. The big hat Edomite and the small hat Edomites. They the ones that control the media. Okay? They know what they're doing. Oh, man, I got a few lessons that I can go into, man. I just thought about another video I saw the other day that kind of shows you just how evil this society is. Okay? You could tell the elites do not plan on keeping America, the great America that people thought it was in the 50s or in the 80s during the Cold War. Whatever you thought America was that made it great, they're not trying to keep it great. There is no make America great again. Like it doesn't even, people can't even see. If you're trying to act, if you care about the citizens in the country, you do not promote and do the things that you're doing in the country if you want the society to be great. I'm telling you right now, America is a big experiment for the New World Order. A lot of the things they're doing is experimental, and it's based on the fact that they're trying to keep the tribe of Judah down. That's the main people. Because in their minds, they already conquered Gad and Reuben, put them on reservations, threw drugs on them, put them in little they have Indian jails. Okay, they keep them separated from the rest of the masses of America. All you fake black pretendians, man, that's trying to take away the identity of our northern brothers who were over here in the land, you need to quit while you're ahead because you're looking real stupid right now. Okay? Shout out to the brothers from the reservations, man. We got a brother, Brighton, okay, who's a real Native American, okay, at least according to the definition of this society, okay, but a real northern kingdom, okay, that came from the Assyrian captivity. Okay, he was a descendant of those people. So, yeah, but see, here's the thing about the beat up. We don't want to have this conversation. We rather blame others than blame ourselves. But here's the part of the responsibility. Where do you, woman, see? If you ask her what responsibility do black women have in the degradation of the black community? They ain't gonna have no answers. They ain't gonna have no answers because they don't want to blame themselves for anything that they caused. They don't want that 20 million of deletions. They just gonna blame it on the men. But the ones that the babies they decided to keep, they went to Uncle Sam to take care of, right? Just like Shahrazad Ali said, you can't tell them nothing. Now, they got the full sermon here. I'm not going to pull it up. But if you want to go to the same post, go to conservative, you can go here and you can pull up the full one, copy and paste. He'll say it's not about color. It's about race, my guy. It's definitely about Esau and Jacob. I'll tell you that much. It's not about color, because this is more than skin deep. It just so happens that you view yourself as Caucasian and you're from Tennessee. Now, 90% of my problems are self-inflicted. I'm Caucasian, born in Tennessee. Now, let's assume that he's also an Edomite. Therefore, the curses wouldn't apply to him. Therefore, the obstacles set up forth by the government would not apply to them. They would not have been multi-generationally messed with by big hat and small hat Edomites to be in the condition that they're in 2025. Okay, now the stuff that's going on in Tennessee, let's say you got the fentanyl crisis going on or whatever in some of these so-called predominantly white areas, that's still done by the government. But then you have to ask yourself why the government's doing it. But at the end of the day, you got to go ahead and put the blame upon thyself. Now, it says here that it's about being good parents and raising good people. Take pride in raising the next generation. Be a good father. Be a good mother. Well, the thing about it is, your brethren, assuming that he's an Edomite, okay, assuming, because remember, not all people that are white are Edomites. Let's assume he's an Edomite. Why are your people have media, record labels, spending millions of dollars to promote the message that's saying that we shouldn't be good parents? Promoting single motherhood. Okay? He brought up Democratic Party again. Starts with the family. They need their fathers. They are systematically taken out. Yeah. And that's the truth. And the thing about it is a lot of these women are going to deflect. A lot of these single mothers, they're going to deflect. They're going to deflect. They're going to blame the men. And we're going to have to ask ourselves, what kind of man did you get with? Let's put some responsibility on you. What kind of man was he? Let's examine. Let's do a freaking check and check on what kind of man this guy was that you had this baby with. And if this man is a responsible man, why aren't you with him? And if he's an irresponsible man, why did you get with him? Why did you lay with him to begin with? Okay? We're going to start there before we deal with where the father went to and why. Let's deal with that. Then we can ask the why. Okay? Look at this guy. Now, people's avatars may not be who they are. Let's assume that this is a so-called white man. Okay? Let's see if he says some truth here. Al Sharpton is the enemy of the black community. I agree. BLM is the enemy of the black community. I definitely agree. Now we actually had a dude who used to be among us. He was a BLM supporter. He looked like he was a BLM supporter. BLM is an enemy of the black community. Why won't the leftist media get the true message out to them? Yeah. The leftist media is designed to corrupt so-called black people into liberalism, which is basically just another way of saying Satanism. Okay. And they're accepting a whole full scale. It just is what it is. Now, this guy, he says clown preacher, so he don't like it. I'm going to see if he responds to them, because people are going to respond. I want to see what they say. So he says, you are lost in the wilderness. He's telling the truth. Interesting. I talked about the wilderness because that's where we're at. We're in the wilderness, lost, circling around, rebelling, not listening. He says, you have no idea. You're just as lost as that clown preacher. Was this a troll account? because you're gonna have to explain yourself deeper than just saying that. This guy goes to some statistics. Let's see if Mr. Frank Lamar, if he is indeed a real person and not just a troll account. And see if he never responded back. So yeah, it is what it is, man. Let's go ahead and go into some stuff, and let's deal it as to what the pastor does not want to address. This is Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 29. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. Okay? So that's one of the things that was happened since the civil rights movement, is that not only did the welfare state come in to remove men out of the home, but also you had liberalism, basically feminism, like we talked about with Gloria Steinem and them. And basically it was what's called the sexual revolution, okay, where basically it was allowed for, women to be loose. Now remember, the only reason why men are able, the few men that are able to sleep around, the reason why is because women have been loosed and allowed to be liberal and have to do whatever they want with their bodies, even if it means having children out of wedlock, okay, breaking up their relationships by committing adultery and getting into another relationship. And that's basically caused the land to be full of wickedness, because when you have women that are doing this, a lot of times when they break away from the authority of a man, they'll go into some level of form of prostitution, whether that's direct or indirect. This is the reason why you got a lot of women, they only want to be with men who are going to give them a lifestyle. That is indirect prostitution, by the way. Okay? Saying that you're not going to, you don't want to be with a man unless he's providing you Birkin bags, Chanel purses, and, Louis Vuitton shoes or whatever they wear these days. He got to take you on a trip to a tropical location. He got to fly you out, and it got to be first class. He got to take you to a steakhouse, like Steak 48 or something, so you can flex on the gram and make other women jealous of you. He got to buy you, gifts. So this is what's going on. And it's causing a lot of problems. Okay? Every issue that we have among the men is directly and indirectly tied to this, to loose women. See, back when we had so-called black people had the highest marriage rate in America, even higher than so-called white people. I think the marriage rate was somewhere like around 90% around 1950s. So you didn't have this high rate of women that were engaged in this. Yes, there's always been prostitutes. Heck, even among the so-called white community, there was prostitution. Even during the golden years of the 50s, the Leave It to Beaver years, the boomer age, they still had sections where in some of these cities where you had, your harlot houses or whatever, your cabarets or whatever you call them. They had those. Okay. But it wasn't something that was so pervasive. Now it is normalized. And I'm going to tell you a scary thing. A lot of these young women, okay, their future is going to be in prostitution. The longer we keep going, the more and more higher percentage of women will go directly into prostitution. That's just what it is. If you look at what's going on economically, socially, with our people, we're actually entering into a period that I believe that if we're here for another 5 years, these young women right now that are in high school, the that are going to be turning 18. So the 9th graders right now through the 10th graders, the young women that are in those grades right now, by the time they're 18, I believe the majority of them are going to enter in some form of prostitution. Like in a lot of these cities, either directly or indirectly. Because you got to look at the fact that the structure of of what they're growing up in, which really are not families, because if a family is, the head of a family is a man. So if you don't have a man, there is no family. That is a family based on what Black Lives Matter website said is a family is one that decenters men. It's just a woman and her children. That is really not a family. That is just a woman with kids. It's not a household, because a house is reckoned by the house of the father. It's like you had the house of David. It wasn't the house of Michal or Abigail. So all these things are just backwards thinking. And with the way the economy, the inflation is going on right now, the lack of jobs that are paying at a high wage, that's requiring people to work more than ever. And a young person's hard to have that type of work ethic to work much harder. They're not getting with other men to formulate actual families and households because they've been raised to not do that. So that's where we're at right now. So what do you think that's going to mean for the young men that are their counterparts from 14 to 18? What are they going to do? Bro, are y'all getting the picture? How ugly it's going to get super ugly. Like, it's already bad now. It's going to get worse. Let me go back to this Ezekiel and go down to verse 5. It says, those that be near and those that be far from thee shall mock thee, which art infamous and much vexed. Do you know that these other nations, they have a council to degrade our people, man, with Esau? It has that in Psalms. They're confederate against thee. It says those that be near and those that be far from thee. So, bro, the other nations that are afar off, man, and those that are near shall mock thee. Do you know? And like, there's different levels of this too. Do you know that you got like other nations? You got like the Arabs, you got the Moabites, Ammonites. They set up shop in the so-called black community. And they see everything. You got elites of these other countries. They know a lot, man. You know, when you're in these elites, a lot of these elites from these other biblical nations, they haven't forgotten who they are. They know who you are. And they talk about it. Now, amongst their common folk, they just mock you. We have fallen very low as a people. And there's levels to this thing, man. Like I said, there's multi-tiered layers, you know, to this discussion, because on a global level, but what's going on here is a special play. It's a special thing. That's why Babylon has such a very strong focus in the Bible for destruction, because what is happening to our people here is astonishing. It's astonishing, bro. what Esau has done to our people. Like the Most High says about they've went past our punishment. They took it too far. They took us too far, man. Behold, the princes of Israel, everyone were in thee to their power to shed blood. Now, mind you, even though this is talking about ancient Israel, this still applies till today because this message still reigns true. The young men of Israel shedding blood. It was in their power to do it, given guns to make it more efficient. They were strengthened to it. You know, it was strengthened, promoted by media, applauded by the audience. You have people that are literally trying to. They were pushing rappers to slide, man. Look at the whole situation. King Von died. You had people that was getting on. You had fans. You had not only just Jake fans, man. You had Edomite fans that was like telling, Dirk, you got to slide for Vaughn. You got to slide for Vaughn until he did. Now he's in prison. Now he's going to be going to prison. He's going to prison, man. He's not going to. Everybody know. I mean, the physical evidence and the digital evidence is so high that he's gone. He's out of there. A guy that was one of the top rappers who was promoting wickedness, like the guy was writing about, like we talked about earlier. And now this guy who's worth probably, some millions upon millions of dollars lost his freedom. And it's being mocked. Oh, look how stupid he is. You got the small hat Vlad mocking him like, man, why would he do that? That was just dumb for him to do that, man. I mean, to just do that and then to set it up and have it all up on, you're buying flights for you and your guys and putting on a credit card. Yeah, these kids is done. They doing it. They just literally self-snitching on themselves with these type of situations. But who's mocking? The heathen, whether they be near, whether they be afar off. Verse 7, in thee have they set light by father and mother. In the midst of thee have they dealt by oppression with the stranger. In thee have they vexed the fatherless and the widow. And not only did Esau do this, the wicked among our people, the wicked of our people do this too. They oppress the stranger. If you go to some of these neighborhoods and they don't recognize you, they're going to run through your pockets. Man, where are you from? They're going to run through your pockets. This is where these guys be talking about, man, you got to check in. You notice Justin Bieber ain't got to check in. But if you're a rapper from another city, you go into LA, you got to check in. You got to check in. But Bieber ain't got to check in. Bieber on doing songs with rappers and everything. He DJ Khaled doing hit songs. But Quavo, he doing songs with Quavo. But when Quavo go to LA, he got to check in. That's oppressing the stranger. You can't come to this particular gas station. It belongs to this hood, this gang. Somebody is coming to visit probably a relative. You making it hard for them. Some of them are even getting robbed. Some of them even getting deleted. Getting their life taken away. In thee have they vexed the fatherless and the widow. Okay? That's why the Most High was bringing that judgment. Thou hast despised mine holy things and hast profaned my Sabbaths. So this lets you know he's talking to Israel. It ain't always Esau. Esau is the bloody city. No, you're the bloody city. That's what the Most High saying. You're the bloody city. And here's why. They turn up on the Sabbath day heavy. Okay? They go into Taste. They go into the Breakfast Club. They sipping on their Long Island iced teas. They going hard in the paint. Talking about our people. In thee are men that carry tales to shed blood. They rap about it, man. They carry tales, man. Like King Von and them. King Von started rapping. Got my Glock 26, going to the stove, headed to the O. You know what I'm saying? That boy sitting there just telling tales. Man, that's y'all rapping. Okay? Tupac got a song on, I think it's on All Eyes on Me. It's called War Stories. Okay? It's called War Stories, telling tales about shedding blood. We're sharing war stories. Outlaws on the rise, jealous niggas out his rise. Look in my eyes, I'm telling war stories. You got to be from the old school to know about that song. Okay? They rapping about it. Am I lying? In thee are men that carry tales to shed blood. And in thee they eat up the mountains. In the midst of thee they commit lewdness. They out there. You got girls out there in the skimpiest outfits, twerking, acting a fool. You go outside, you can't even go to the gym no more, bro. Go to the store in the summertime, it's crazy. Sometimes it'd be happy when it'd be winter because people got to cover up. These women got to cover up, man. It'd be less lustful during the wintertime when it'd be cold. Like you go to the store, for the most part, most stuff is covered up. Some people still try it even if it's 40 degrees. But for the most part, lewdness everywhere. Verse 10, in thee have they discovered their father's nakedness. In thee have they humbled her that was set apart for pollution. You got dudes out here sleeping with they father's woman, bruh. Like, what kind of time is that? Look at Diddy. Diddy and one or two of his sons was with Steve Harvey's daughter, Lori Harvey. Look it up. Ain't no, listen, bro. I just thought about this. Ain't no telling what's happening. Because before Diddy got caught up in the situation, you know, he had a daughter with a woman. And by the way, that woman was married. It's actually like proven. She was married at the time. She was committing adultery against her husband with Diddy. And she got pregnant by Diddy and had a daughter with Diddy. Now, Diddy's locked up. Ain't no telling if one of his sons is now sleeping with that woman who is basically the mother of their half sibling. Ain't no telling. Because they already did it. You got to think about it. The fact that that barrier was already torn down, that Diddy and his son were both sleeping with Lori Harvey. That barrier's already down. So you don't think he ain't going to do it again? Bro, what's going on? In thee have they humbled her that was set apart for pollution. And one hath committed abomination with his neighbor's wife. Oh, man. Dude, the amount of like adultery going on where men sleeping with. Do you know there's a story? Jazz Prince or one of Jay Prince's son. I don't know if it's Jay Prince Jr. or Jazz Prince. Look it up. He has an artist, Finesse Two Times. Finesse Two Times has a woman and she got pregnant The whole time they together, the baby was born. He thought the baby was his. The baby was basically one of the execs at the label that he's under at Rap-A-Lot. What? Crazy. You think the Most High is pleased with that? This is the reason why I tell you, brothers, man, I don't give a dang what anybody say. Any of these sisters that got a problem with it can kick rocks with open toes. Okay, with open toe sandals on. I'm telling you, brothers, get the paternity test. For this reason right here that we just read. Okay? And another hath lewdly defiled his daughter-in-law, and another in thee hath humbled his sister, his father's daughter. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. I heard a girl yesterday on YouTube say that she slept with her boyfriend's father and stuff like that. There's actually been videos, you can actually look it up, where a woman had talked about she got pregnant by her boyfriend's father. Yeah, that's happening. Okay. And another in thee hath humbled his sister. That's freaking crazy. Now, R. Kelly will converse it on the other end. R. Kelly's sister used to do some things to him growing up as a kid. This is one of the reasons why R. Kelly is messed up in the head, but this is one of the things that happened with R. Kelly. He was a victim of his sister. So yes, incest happening as well. Okay? In thee. So in the bloody city, remember he says in thee, meaning among you, you children of Israel, in this bloody city, this is what's going on. He's putting a spotlight on it. He's exposing it. In thee have they taken gifts to shed blood. I got a bag on his head. Didn't they do that with Young Dolph? Listen, man, we going into actual examples here. Didn't that happen with Young Dolph? Didn't they put a bag on his head? Right? Isn't one of the issues that's going on with Keefe D being locked up over Tupac's murder was the belief that he was supposed to be paid by Diddy for taking out Tupac? And he talked about on Vlad how Diddy owes him. What was he talking about? You see what's going on? You see how the Most High has exposed us and we got examples just off the rip? Thou hast taken usury and increase. Oh, you have that going on all the time. Okay? Making somebody pay more than what they borrowed, which is against the law. We're not supposed to do that to our own people. With the heathen, you can do that, but your own, you're not supposed to. Thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion and hast forgotten me, said the Lord God. So these people gained under the bloody city, under the curses. You would think, oh, everybody should be poor. Just because we're under the curses doesn't mean everybody's impoverished. But it doesn't mean that some people don't become rich at the expense of others. And that's happened as well. Side note, sidebar, you got groups like the Mexican Mafia. They tax their own poor people that have businesses in their communities. Okay, they extort them. Okay, you also have people that extort in the so-called black community as well. Okay, come up off that. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. So our people are definitely involved in this type of behavior. We have examples, right? So what happened, and mind you, when the Most High scattered us, he had intention of bringing us back. But with this last one, when Jerusalem was taken down, he says, y'all not coming back until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. So in the midst of us going into these different other lands and trying to rebuild back up, we fell into these different sins over and over again to where we are now, falling into it again and again and again. This time is the last time for us to get it right, and only a remnant will understand. Okay? Some more. Behold, therefore, I have smitten mine hand at thy dishonest gain, which thou hast made, and at thy blood, which thou hast in the midst of thee. Can thine heart endure, or can thine hands be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee? I, Yahweh, has spoken it and will do it. He's going to do it one last time as far as the punishment. But look at this. This is what he did to us back then. And he's going to make an end of this, okay, with the day of judgment. He says, I will scatter thee among the heathen and disperse thee in the countries and will consume thy filthiness out of thee. Because the reason why he can do this is because when the Most High scattered us among the heathen, he had more punishments among the heathen as we were not getting ourselves right, which he's still doing till today. Verse 16, and thou shalt take thine inheritance in thyself in the sight of the heathen, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Okay? And that's what he's done. And that's why we have to, among the heathen, we have to declare this word. Like it tells you in Deuteronomy chapter 30. Okay? That we shall call to mind among the heathen the covenant, the law and everything that's happened to us. And bethink ourselves and go back to the Father through Yahawashi HaMashiach. So now let's go ahead and go to one of the things that was talked about, which is the deletion of the babies. Okay. So this is on human sacrifice and immorality. See, a lot of times we try and act, a lot of these Israelites, we try to act as if like we're like the moral standard of the world. But we've actually been among the foremost immoral people on the planet is the children of Israel. That's just the truth. We followed after the ways of the heathen, and then we took it even further than the heathen many times. To where the heathen is looking at us like we the real heathen of the heathen. They like, man, y'all really heathen. That's how bad it's gotten. Let's go ahead and read this in Leviticus 20 and verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. Okay? And when you give your baby over abortion, they actually have one of those clinics, one of those abortion clinics actually has an owl of Minerva on it, which is a symbol of idolatry. And you also, you have the, over there in California, you have that owl out there as well. Forgot the name of the Bohemian Grove. The Bohemian Grove out there in California, they got it. Some of you have actually seen that as well. And when they have a so-called sacrifice of a child over there. Now they say it's a mock sacrifice. It's not really a child in there, but who knows? Where they sacrifice the child to Molech in the fire. Yes. So our people were doing this. They were doing this in the ancient world. They're doing this now. They do this in different parts of the world where our people do this. Okay? So this ain't just happening here. Babylon is not the only place where our people are wicked. The Americas is not the only place where our people are wicked. This is in Asia. This is in Africa where our people are. They're doing the same type of things. It's just that they might be doing it a different way. Over here, the main way to do it is to do the abortion. Okay? And this is what the women are doing in high numbers. And they are saying that they're allowed to do it. And there's nothing wrong with them doing it. They're proud of it. Okay? They brag about it. During the Democratic convention, they even had the mobile buses that was outside the convention center to do some of these sacrifices unto Molech. Yes, look it up. That's how bad it is. And our people was in there doing it. Verse 3, and I will set my face against that man and will cut him off from among his people, because he hath given of his seed unto Moloch to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. That's why any of you brothers, man, if you ever gotten a girl pregnant, you better not tell her to delete and get rid of the baby. Now, you have the right to seek out a paternity test. You better believe it. But to tell that woman to delete, you are committing, a bad situation. You are falling right in line with this. That should never come out of your mouth. Okay? I don't care if it's a woman that I messed up. I don't really want to be with her, bro. Bro, deal with it. Deal with it. Try and make it work out. Because you make that decision, you got to understand what the consequences are. Should have been listening when they were talking about the birds and the bees, man. Should have been listening in sex ed class about how babies are made. Because a lot of you you act like you don't know. And it's looking really stupid right now at this point among our people. It's just looking really silly when these women try and act like they don't know how they had that baby. How they didn't know that the guy that was impregnating him was lazy, shiftless, and a dope head. Come on now. At some point, man, you got to understand we was born yesterday, not today. Okay, we grown out here. Because he has given his seed unto Moloch to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. And if the people of the land do any ways, hide their eyes from the man. So if you act like you didn't know that he out there sending out text messages like some of these guys like Anthony Edwards type, or even there was another guy, Von Miller, tried to do the same thing. Tried to get his woman to delete the baby. Bro, this is really going on among our people, bro. And this is with women that they are actively dealing with, even if they're dealing with them loosely. But again, you cause thy daughters to be a whore, wickedness shall be among the people. One of those is this type of behavior. Because after what happened back in the ancient world is when these women would go into this, go a whoring and sleeping around, which is what they were doing in the ancient world. When they would get pregnant, they didn't want the responsibility to take care of a baby too. So they would then take the child to Molech. This is Leviticus 20 right after 19. They would go and when they would have the baby, they would take the baby to Molech, to the idol Molech, and they would sacrifice the baby. See, a lot of people don't even understand this is how they got loose back in the ancient world. They were sleeping around the same way. It's just that they were dealing with the consequences differently. They didn't have the morning after pill. They didn't have the birth control pill. Okay? Not like they did. They did have certain herbs and things like that. They would stave off, you could say, the after conception with the gestation of the egg forming into an embryo, which would be like a early termination after conception through certain herbs. They had some of that back in the ancient world, but it wasn't readily available at a high level. So what would happen is, and some places didn't know about it, or they didn't have enough of it. So what they would do is when those babies would be born, they would just sacrifice the baby. Because it was quote unquote an unwanted pregnancy. And that was one of the ways that they got through the pregnancy, is they'll say, hey, we're going to just go take it and do this sacrifice and pray to Molech that it's going to bless us later. So that's how some of these women were sleeping around back then. Okay. And that's how they were getting rid of the babies. Now, other men as well in this situation where a man is saying, you know what, I want to give up this baby to Molech, because sometimes they didn't want to have the responsibility and they wanted to basically live their life. Okay. So they would tell the woman, or they would take the baby and just do it themselves. On some Amber Alert type stuff, like the baby's taken and gone. Where the baby at? Last seen with this man. So that's what they would do. Okay. Then I will set my face against that man and against his family. So now your family is getting it. That didn't have nothing to do with it, because they hid their eyes and act like they didn't know. Just like our people are hiding their eyes. Like, you don't know that these women in your family ain't deleting these babies. She had a belly and then she ready for hot girl summer. What happened? I done seen girls out here have a pregnant belly and then pop up with no baby, and then they running around and they having a summer. There's actually a meme that has a woman jumping off of a cliff, like she's on a beach somewhere, and she's like, F them babe, F them kids. You got women that are making these active decisions. Okay? I'm going to give you an example. There's this woman, her name is Tammy. She's on Love and, what do you call it? Basketball Wives or whatever on VH1. She actually was on Real World back in the day, Real World Los Angeles, which I believe was the second Real World after Real World New York. This is back like in the early 90s. And she got pregnant and she did not want to have the baby. And on that show, they showed her going to an abortion clinic to getting rid of the baby. Now, fast forward years later, she ends up dating Kenny Anderson, the basketball player, the NBA player, who's the godfather of Kyrie Irving, by the way. And Kenny Anderson married her, and she had his baby. She didn't get rid of that baby, though, because it's a baller baby. You know what I'm saying? Like 50 Cent said, have a baby, be a millionaire. So she didn't get rid of that baby, but she got rid of the other baby because the baby was not by a rich man, and she couldn't be a millionaire off of it. And by the way, she ended up divorcing Kenny Anderson anyway, and now she makes money off of her being a former wife of an NBA player. That's how she got her name. That's how she got famous now. From being a regular woman to being a woman known as a former wife of an NBA player. So this is what our people are doing. This is the reason why you should not promote in any way, shape, or form, okay, this type of behavior. Okay, and against his family, and it will cut him off and all that go a whoring after him to commit whoredom with Molech from among his people, from their people. So that's the reason why we have to tell our people. Any man you hear talking about trying to figure out a way to get the woman to get rid of the baby, you need to warn him. Don't hide your face. Let him know that what he's doing, Leviticus 20, you're sacrificing your kid to Molech. That is an innocent, that is a baby that has a life. The Most High views as a life. Even if you get rid of it, it's still going to be on you. Even if that kid, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of these people don't even know this. And that's why the punishment of sin is so high on our people. The Most High is just opening up on us because we're just doing this and we're just not speaking against it. And it keeps going and it's been normalized. Now you have all this bad, negative energy on our families, on our people, bro, because of this. And the Most High is not removing it because we're not yet, acknowledge our offense and believed on his son to receive the remission of our sins. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. Y'all can read the letter of that later. Let's keep going on. So this is Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, in the Apocrypha, chapter 25 and verse 24. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Now, this is a wise man saying this. Now, you Ahabians, y'all will say that, y'all might as well say that this man Sirach, okay, you might as well say that he was bitter against woman. Now, he's a wise man. After observing everything going around, he said, you know what? All this sin that we doing, the beginning of that came from woman. All the idolatry, the fornication, the stealing. Why do men steal? Men are stealing because they're trying to impress women. You know what's funny? When you examine these gay dudes don't be stealing. You don't see crime. You don't see many crimes with just gay dudes out here really stealing. You know what I'm saying? So you got guys out here celebrating Lupercalia, man. Why are you celebrating Valentine's Day? Because a woman made you do it. Why are you celebrating birthdays? Because a woman made you do it. Why are you celebrating New Year's? Because a woman made you do it. She taught you. If you don't do it, she's going to look at you funny. Why you believe in zodiac signs? Because a woman believes in zodiac signs. That's why you're having conversations. You a Libra? You Aquarius? Oh man, Aquarius, they don't get along with Tauruses. Man, them Capricorns, man, them Sags, them Capricorns, man. Oh, gotta watch out for them Scorpios. Gotta watch out for them Geminis. You be having them conversations with the woman about that, huh? Because you want to make the woman feel comfortable. So you talk about zodiac signs. You believe in it. You talk about that. Man, what's his sign? Man, you know, he's a Gemini. Them Geminis, they be sometimey. They be this type of way. They be that type of way. Believing in fairy tales. Why? Because of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all died. The origin of sin came from Eve. Okay? She'll deflect, these women will deflect all they want. And quite frankly, we don't really care if they deflect because judgment is coming anyway. She that is mine enemy shall see it. Okay? Who shall be trodden down in the streets. We don't got to Kevin Samuels the game no more. Kevin Samuels did his part, so we didn't have to do it. We got enough data and information from them conversations to know exactly what's really going on, okay? And why we have the problems that we have. Because even if the man decided to get on a certain page, all it takes is for one wicked man willing to follow the woman and impregnate all these women. If 99, if 100, there was 100 so-called black men, and you have 99 say they're not gonna impregnate none of these women, that they're gonna go and be righteous, those other 100 women will get that one man to impregnate until they can become baby mamas. They're gonna find that one sperm donor, that one sperminator among the people to do that. That's why you got this stuff going on. So the woman ain't gonna hold themselves accountable to that level. The sisters, the true sisters, you know, will. I'm talking about the wicked woman. And by and large, these women they're not gonna do anything. Okay? So that's why we shouldn't fall after the woman. This is Psalm 55:23. But thou, O God, shalt bring them down into the pit of destruction. Bloody and deceitful men shall not live out half their days, but I will trust in thee. Yeah, so bloody and deceitful men do not live out half their days. Many times they die prematurely because the energy of them shedding man's blood comes back upon them, lest they repent, of course. You know what I'm saying? But generally, it just comes back around. Because what happens is when they become bloody and deceitful, they live within that world of bloody and deceitful men like them, and they perish as well. Because those types are in their own environment amongst each other. Okay, and many times they don't live out half their days. But in that time, they end up shedding innocent blood whose lives are cut short. How do we know this? Look what happened with Yahawashi. Yahawashi died a relatively young man. Why? Because there was bloody and deceitful men that took him out, that lied on him. Yeah, they lied on him because they was envious. They was some bitch-made niggas. Okay? So they lied on him and they wanted to see him, you know, taken out. See how they was disrespecting him when he was on the cross? So we know these people exist. They exist among our people too. Okay? But what's going to happen to them? Revelation chapter 22 and verse 10. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He which is filthy, let him be filthy still. And he that is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he that is holy, let him be holy still. The time is coming that we're not going to even warn people no more. We're going to let them do them. It's going to be a time when there's just a girl want to be ratchet. You're going to be ratchet. Be sexy red. We're not even going to tell you not to be her. We're going to let you do. Because let me tell you something, Akim. The world that we're in is coming to an end, right? And understand this. The people that are slated to believe, they're eventually going to believe. The ones that aren't. And this is the world. This is their last life to live. YOLO. For them, this is their YOLO. You only live once. So for them, they got to live it up according to their belief. Wisdom of Solomon talks about that, about those people living that life and looking at us as if we're crazy because we decide to take on a path of righteousness. So they look at us as crazy while they live it up. So allow these people, sometimes you just got to allow these people to live it up, because you got to think about it. If this is their last time, their last incarnation, you know what I'm saying? Their last time in the flesh, and they're not of the elect, right? Then they actually have liberty and freedom. The Most High is actually giving them that freedom for them to live as they please. Isn't it fair to them to allow them to just live the way that they see fit? If you get what I'm saying. So you got to kind of look at it from that perspective sometimes. Allow them to be. Okay, and you continue going down that path towards everlasting life and trying to endure to the end. That's what we're trying to do. Verse 12, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. So we see the type of people that we mentioned that were, we read in the other scriptures, but we're also talked about in the video. Okay? We see that they are not going to be able to enter into everlasting life. Okay? So the bloody city, those people that are part of the bloody city are not entering in. They will not be part of the New Jerusalem. They will not inherit everlasting life. Okay? And so that's why we have to go into this. We have to tell the truth to our people, whether they hear or forbear. So hopefully this is edifying to you, brothers and sisters. And again, I'm going to give all glory and praises to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and we do so in the name of our Lord and Savior, Yahawashi. Grace and mercy be bound to the whole full elect scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.